Welcome to Toastmasters Time, the show that has everyone talking. And tonight we have a special one for you. With me tonight, I'm the host, Ashley Harkness, but with me is our evaluator, Angelo Macaraeg. And he is going to tell us who we have on the show tonight.
Tonight we have a really great meeting. We have two very young but upcoming Toastmasters. Their names are Elaine and Robert. And they both have really interesting topics for us tonight. And I will be evaluating them, and I can't wait to hear what's in store.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to hear also. Well, we'll be talking to you a little bit later in the show. But right now, we have a very special announcement. This is a very special time at Toastmasters. We are celebrating the 90th anniversary of Toastmasters organization's life. And we're also celebrating tonight the 200th Toastmaster Time television show. So thank you for being here with us to help us celebrate this particular moment. Let's also celebrate by my introducing our first speaker tonight, Elaine Lee. Elaine, welcome to Toastmaster Time.
Thank you.
Well, Elaine, tell us, how long have you been a Toastmaster?
Only 4 months. I'm a newbie.
Newbie. And how have you been finding the experience to be enjoyable?
Oh, I love it. I'm in love. I'm a Toastmaster for life now, I
love
think.
it. That's great. That's great. I think we all are as it goes along. Well, have you found that Toastmastering and your experience has helped you in your daily life?
Yes, in my work and even with my friends. And most importantly, I'm losing my fear of microphones.
Your fear of microphones?
Yes.
What is a fear of microphones?
Well, when I see them and I touch them, I freeze.
You
and
see them and
I tend to freeze.
But
now that I've been in Toastmasters, I can touch them and I don't freeze.
Well, I think that's really, did they warm these things up first for you or help you along with that?
Yes, all these practice speeches that I've been giving are helping.
Oh, there are lots of speeches. Now, your speech tonight is from the Competent Communicator Manual, right?
That's right.
And it's the number 5 speech?
It is.
What is it about? I mean, what is what are the objectives you have?
Well, this one is called something like Body Speaks.
Ah, your body speaks. So you'll be using a lot of gestures and things. We'll be looking forward to that.
I'm going to try to integrate my body and my voice in a very fluid way.
Excellent.
That's what I'm trying to do.
That's wonderful. So are you ready to do your speech?
I think so.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to get set up and get on your mark. And while that's happening, I'm going to be telling the audience at home a little bit more about Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a worldwide organization. Its goal is to help people to overcome their fear of public speaking and at the same time experience the opportunities for leadership and all the kinds of things that with speaking and that go on with the club. It's a wonderful experience. One of the experiences that's the most important is the fact that we evaluate these presentations right then and there as soon as they happen so that people get the best feedback possible. And with our evaluator tonight with me is Angelo. Angelo, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Okay, tell us about the objectives that you'll be looking for in Elaine's speech.
So tonight, Elaine is working out of the Competent Communicator Manual. She's doing the 5th speech. And what we're going to be looking for is all about the body, how the body communicates the message that she's trying to convey. So the things we're going to look for is stance, body movement, gestures, and most of all, facial expressions. And we're also going to try and notice some natural speaking ability and how that goes along with conveying their speech. So
excellent. We'll be very interested in hearing your comments after her speech. But now I think it's time for us to hear from our speakers. So please welcome Elaine Lee with her presentation, An African American Quest. An African American Quest. Elaine Lee.
As a child growing up in Flint, Michigan, I remember this one summer that my mom and a friend of hers decided that they wanted to take a road trip to Monroeville, Alabama, her birthplace, a place she hadn't visited since she was 5 years old, when her family migrated from Monroeville to Michigan in the year 1917. So here we are on the road, and as we're driving from Ohio to Kentucky, she says, Elaine, we're crossing the Mason-Dixon line. Things are getting ready to be very different for us. And I didn't quite understand what that meant. But when we got to our first rest stop, there above the water fountains were 2 signs, one that said colored and the other one said white. And that was in the year 1961, where segregation was alive and well and sick in Southern America. So you can imagine in my little 9-year-old eyes looking at this, just being very, very perplexed. And then, then I thought, well, maybe that might have something to do with why there's so much food in our car. Because it turns out we couldn't stop at restaurants to eat because we never knew where or when we could possibly get served. And we had to drive straight through without stopping at a motel, because would there be hotels to stay at? They couldn't take those chances. So my mom and her friend just alternated driving and sleeping and driving and sleeping. And at last we arrived to Monroeville, Alabama. My mom actually took me to the plantation where her grandmother was a slave. We visited the colored graveyard and saw the headstone of her grandmother and other ancestors. And I realized that as a young person, I not only witnessed America's version of apartheid, but I also witnessed the dismantling of it through the Civil Rights Movement, through the Civil Rights Act. I was able to see all of that and watched us move from being colored to black to African American. And that whole idea of being African American, that resonated with me. I thought, well, since I'm living in a pigmentocracy, why not define ourselves by from whence we come? But now when I went to Africa for the first time, that put a whole nother spin on the concept of being African American. Because when I got to Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya in 1985, it just felt like I was home again. I don't know if it was like a cellular memory or something, but I remember distinctly walking down the street and seeing all these incredibly familiar faces. It was like, oh my God, he looks like my Uncle Harry, and she looks like my neighbor Iola, and that he looks like my cousin Butch. Familiar faces. I noticed the women had these huge head wraps, and that reminded me of how in my mom's church the women wear these big hats. And once we went to a local dance club, and I could just so freely dance with the people. The moves all came to me so naturally, and I realized, that even though our slave masters had worked so hard at stripping all vestiges of our African past from us, they had not completely succeeded. There was still a lot of Africanness in me, and I could feel that being in Africa. I remember went to our first restaurant there, and it was a buffet, and there was black-eyed peas and okra and cornbread and watermelon, and it was things that were very, very familiar to me. And I was like, it's old home week here for me. And one experience that really stood out in my mind is when we went to the bush, deep, deep into the country, where we met a Maasai tribe people, and our guide was explaining to them who we were and where we came from. And they were really surprised, because they had never, I was actually surprised as well, they had never heard of America, they had never heard of slave trade, they had never heard of slavery. So they just thought we were kind of odd-looking Africans. And I thought, that's it. I'm an African who's from America. It was so clear to me. And through that experience, it was as if I got part of my soul back. And interestingly enough, I didn't even know it was missing. But when I got back to America, I noticed my head was holding my head a little higher. My back was a little straighter. I had this sense of belonging, this sense of place, this sense of pride that I came from a continent that was so gloriously beautiful and such a rich place. And I actually visited Africa several times since then. But last year was the first time I visited West Africa, where the region where my ancestors are actually from. I had a wonderful, grand and glorious time in Ghana. But after leaving, I thought, I like this whole intellectual and emotional connection to Africa, but I want the real thing. I want to know from whence I really come. So I decided I'm going to have my DNA tested. I'm going to find out for sure, where am I really from? Where are my people really from? So I contacted AfricanAmericanAncestry.com, ordered my little kit. They sent it. I got it out of the mail bag and got my little swabs, and I stroked the inside of my cheeks and put them in a tube, sent it off. And 2 months later, which happened to be September 26th of this year, I learned that I am from the Bamalike tribe of the Cameroons. And it was almost surrealistic, but yet truly wonderful to find out from whence I come, and it gave me a sense of strength and pride and dignity. I thought it was a wonderful gift to give myself and also my family, and particularly the young people in my family, so that they could grow up with a sense of from whence they come. And upon my discovery, it reminded me of this poem that I love by Maya Angelou, and I'm going to wind up with reciting just an excerpt from this poem. Out of history's shame I rise, up from a past rooted in pain I rise, into a world that's gloriously clear I rise, bearing the gifts my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Wow. Inspirational.
Great speech.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. So how did you find her in terms of hitting her marks for using her body?
Well, first of all, just the topic alone was very moving, powerful. And this speech was all about movement.
Mm-hmm.
And the theme of her topic was about movement, journeying, traveling, trying to figure out her past. And I felt like her body language definitely conveyed every single part of her speech. There was movement of the arms. She smiled a lot. Mm-hmm. She looked around. She didn't stay in one place. She definitely accomplished her goals.
Excellent. I agree. I think it was inspirational, and I think we were in for a very special treat. And thank you very much for the evaluation. It's time for us to take a break at Toastmaster Time, and we'll have a public service announcement. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time Television on our 200th anniversary as we celebrate the 90th year of Toastmastering and the 200th show for Toastmaster Time. Here with me is our next speaker, Robert Fullerton. Welcome to Toastmaster Time, Robert.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. How long have you been in Toastmasters?
Every bit of 4 months.
4 months. Mm-hmm. And you've learned a lot, I imagine, in 4 months.
I'm still learning.
Oh, it's wonderful. Isn't it a great experience?
You better believe it.
Okay, what is the club that you're involved with?
Toastmasters of the East Bay. That's in Oakland.
In Oakland? Mm-hmm. Okay, I know that club. You do very, very well. Have you found that Toastmastering has helped you in your daily life?
It's a process. I'm noticing that I'm, if nothing else, more excited. Mm-hmm. I'm having more fun. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward every Monday to going to the Toastmaster meeting.
All right. Well, listen, we're looking very forward to hearing your speech. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few minutes to get prepared and move to your mark. And while that's happening, I'm going to tell the audience at home a little bit about Toastmastering and our organization. Toastmasters is an organization that has got 18,000 clubs all over the world. We're in most of the countries, and the organization is based on a single club where 20 members get together and work out leadership issues and also how to speak and control fear. But one part of it is the evaluation, and the evaluations happen right after the speeches. So our evaluator has joined us. Angelo, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again.
And you have had a moment to think about what Robert's speech is going to be about. So tell me what you're looking for.
We're actually looking for the same exact things that Elaine was doing in her objectives. He's actually doing the same speech out of the Competent Communicator Manual number 5. So again, we're going to be looking for body gestures to that convey the message of their speech.
Excellent. Well, I'll be talking to you a little bit later about that. But right now, it's time for us to hear from Robert Fullerton and his presentation of When Things Don't Go Your Way. When things don't go your way, Robert Fullerton.
At times, things will not go our way. In spite of all the success we might encounter, oftentimes things don't go our way, whether it's in relationships, at work. How about the election we recently had, the midterm elections? A lot of people were disappointed because things did not go their way. Well, what do you do when things don't go your way? Do you rant and rave and get upset, become stressed out? I have. But the problem with that is it doesn't help the situation. As a matter of fact, it makes me. So this evening I would like to share with you some ideas that I've come up with that will help you, hopefully, to manage yourself more effectively when things don't go your way. And through these techniques, my hope is that you will not only manage the situation more effectively, but perhaps will grow and use the adversities that you're dealing with as an opportunity to become better. Now, I frame this in what I call the 4C model for managing yourself when things don't go your way. The first C is calm. Be calm. And you can help achieve this by taking deep diaphragmatic breaths through your nose down into your stomach. And by doing this, your body is changing, it's becoming more relaxed, and while you're thinking about the breathing, you're no longer thinking about the things that are upsetting you and disappointing you. The second C is curiosity. From this place of calmness, you're able to be more curious about what happened. What happened in this situation that led to your being disappointed? What we're talking about is basically problem solving. And the third C is the committee of support. Now, we've heard of the committee of they. Those are the folks that are always finding fault, criticizing, blaming, condemning. But the committee of support are those people that are there for you without judgment, without criticism. It could be a best friend. It could be a member of the family. And of course, it could be Toastmasters. Because I found that you get a tremendous amount of uncritical support there. Constructive criticism, if anything. The fourth C is confidence. In spite of all that happens, all the adversities, all the disappointments, how do you think and how do you speak? Allow me for a moment to share a story, if I may. I'm from the East Coast, and there was a minister on the East Coast who used to go hiking and camping after every Christmas season. And this particular day, he was hiking and saw a little boy walking down a road, pulling a little red wagon. Oh, he stopped and looked at the little boy, and as chance would have it, As he's pulling the wagon, one of the wheels hit a rock, and the wheel came off. The little boy looked down, and, oh, he was undone. He said, "Well, I'll be damned." The minister overheard him, and he, "Son," at this point, the little boy knew he was in trouble. So he went over to the minister with his head down, and the minister said, "Son, whenever you experience adversities in life, don't curse the situation. Simply say, 'Praise the Lord.'" The little boy looked up at him and said, "Adversities?" He said, "Yeah, when things don't go your way." So he went back over to the wagon, put the wheel back on, and proceeded down the road again. And as luck would have it, he hit another rock, and the wheel came off again. The little boy looked down at the wheel, and he said, "Well, I'll be," and before he can get it out, he looked over at the minister, who was still there watching, and he said, "Praise the Lord." And do you know what happened? That wheel jumped off of the ground and back onto the wagon. And when the minister saw that, he said, "Well, I'll be damned." The truth of the matter is, we all have our little red wagon, and we're walking our individual lives on the road to our destination, our destiny, and we will experience adversities. We will encounter the rocks that will cause us to be disappointed, upset. But remember, if we work towards keeping that confidence and that positive attitude and being calm, taking the deep breaths, being curious as to how we can solve this problem, and using the committee of support, those who are our friends, will have a better chance of turning these difficult situations, those things that happen that we don't want to happen, and turn them into a positive.
Very inspirational and funny too.
Yeah, it had some humor.
Okay. Well, how did he do on his objectives?
Well, Robert definitely looked very comfortable on stage. I noticed his body movement was very natural as he was standing there. He looked comfortable in his own skin and conveying his speech. On top of that, he used his hands a lot, and the eyes like to look at hands, not just your face, but he was using the hands a lot to describe your breath. For instance, you can't really see your breath, but when he was trying to convey that using his hands, you were able to understand what he's talking about. And he also thinking and naming the 4 C's, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I thought it was really great and great energy as well.
And he hit his objectives.
Yes, he definitely did.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, it's time for us to take another break with a public service announcement. This is Toastmaster Time. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Now we'll find out how much time we have.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time, the show that has everyone talking in our 90th anniversary for Toastmasters and our 200th show for Toastmaster Time TV. So we had 2 speakers tonight. What is your overall evaluation of how well they did?
I am very proud of these speakers. You know, granted that they've only been part of Toastmasters for 4 months, they're very able to comfortably use their bodies to convey both very, very deep topics. One was about heritage, one was about being positive. They used their bodies to their full potential. And I mean, just high remarks on both speakers. Props to them.
And this was with 4 months of experience. And
Yeah.
would you think that this is a common experience, that Toastmasters could do this well at 4 months?
Oh, no, totally. Yeah, totally. Toastmasters is all about building confidence. And as you can tell, from only 4 months of being in their club, they already exhibit that sort of confidence to be on stage. You know, the first step is to just be on stage.
Right.
And here they are in the studio, and they're providing their speeches, both very interesting topics, and they convey them very well. And they also use their bodies very strongly.
Excellent. Well, I think we saw some examples of excellent skills. And I believe that it's a great thing for us to do. Thank you very much for your evaluations. I know that the speakers will have appreciated your efforts.
Thank you.
Now, we talked about Toastmasters Time, and we talked about this being the anniversary. But what I need to tell you about now is a little bit more about the organization. We are here at Toastmaster Time, and if you are interested in more information about this particular program, and in fact, maybe even being on it, please go to our website, which is www.toastmastertime.com. I'm going to repeat that. It's www.toastmastertime.com. Also, you can find out much more about Toastmasters at the website for our Toastmasters International, which is www.org. For our District 57, which is what we're members of and all the clubs are that are here on the show, it's www.d57tm.com. That's www.d57tm.com. That's the District 57. On that website, you'll see a calendar of a whole bunch of events, including what's going on with Toastmaster Time Television. Now, Toastmaster Time Television is produced by Toastmasters International, District 57, covering Northern California. We are at the studios of the Media Center in Palo Alto. I want to thank all of the people at the Media Center and everyone else for all of the work they've done tonight, and all of the people on the show. This has been Toastmaster Time. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.